President Claudia Sheinbaum announcing two very important arrests today in the war against drugs, including a suspect referred to as the, quote, right-hand man to El Chapo's sons. This as the United States Department designates 6 Mexican cartels as global terrorist organizations. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says this classification will provide law enforcement additional tools to stop criminal activity by these groups. Mexico has long opposed the move, arguing the cartels are not motivated by political ends like others on the terror list, but by profits. ABC's Matt Rivers joins us from Mexico City. Matt, what more can you tell us about these arrests that were made and what it means for Mexico's fight against these violent organizations?
Yeah, I think it's not a great day for the Sinaloa cartel, given what everything you just laid out there. I think these two men, while not household names in Mexico, certainly in the world in which they operate, they are certainly well known. One of them was a right-hand man to a faction of the Sinaloa cartel, their leadership. The other one, a security chief within that same faction. So it certainly will make an impact on that group's ability to do what they do, which is primarily fentanyl, extortion, and human smuggling. That said, we've seen this happen so many times before where leadership of the various cartels are taken out or they are captured or detained, and yet everything goes on business as normal because these groups are massive. They do not depend on one individual player, and so this business, even though this will have an impact, will continue.
Yeah, they're structured that way precisely for that reason. I'm wondering how President Sheinbaum and other Mexican officials are responding to this new terror designation by the State Department on some of these deadly cartels. And do you think it can make any kind of difference or will make a difference?
Well, I mean, it depends on what your measure of success would be. I think for the President Trump and his administration, they want to look like they're tough on organized crime. And so, quite frankly, this makes for a good headline. But when you really dive into what designating these groups as foreign terrorist organizations does, I'm not sure it's really going to make much of an impact down here. Operationally speaking, this designation doesn't allow, for example, the authorization of further armed use of force here in Mexico. It does not pave the way for U.S. troops or U.S. drones to fire missiles at cartels. It basically only expands the amount of people that can be targeted, mainly by financial crimes, for providing material support to these groups. So it's certainly going to have an impact on the way U.S. and Mexican officials operate against these cartels. But when it comes to actually making a substantive difference on the ground, we don't know yet. That said, further into the future, we could see the Trump administration perhaps using this foreign terrorist organization designation as some sort of justification for using further military force here in Mexico. Again, we don't know that that's going to happen, but it could happen down the road, according to several analysts that I've spoken with today.
And also, Matt, you've reported so extensively from the border and on immigration. I'm wondering what effect you think this will have on the Trump administration's fight against immigration.
Well, I mean, I think, we were just at the border a few weeks ago talking to both fentanyl and gun smugglers within a cartel that was operating in that part of the area, as well as human smugglers. And we specifically asked them, because the Trump administration has been telegraphing that this move would be coming for a long time now. And so we specifically asked these cartel members, is this going to stop you from doing what you're doing? Is this going, is the idea of U.S. troops coming to Mexico going to scare you into stop doing what you're doing? And they unequivocally said no. Now, part of that could just be bluster in front of a foreign reporter. That could certainly be part of it. Maybe they are a little bit worried. But from what we saw those nights, and we saw fentanyl get smuggled, we saw guns get smuggled, we saw people get smuggled, the business is very much going to continue for the simple fact that there is a massive amount of demand that still exists in the United States. And in the capitalistic world in which we live, a supply will meet that demand at some point. That's what these guys are doing.
Matt Rivers from Mexico City. Matt, thank you.